Awesome. So, welcome to another quick video. This one is just very impromptu, and I appreciate Matt for coming on. So, I get to Miami, I'm hanging out with a buddy, and he introduces me to Matt. And I'm talking to Matt, and I'd heard a little bit. My friend had mentioned Matt before. He's like, "Hi, he does some really cool things online. He does some cool things with NFTs and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, cool." He's like, "He's a young guy." So I meet Matt, not even making the connection that this is who it was. And so he's telling me about the things that he's done, and it's like, built this NFT project, and I'm kind of calculating in my head. It's like, okay, based on these numbers you're giving me, this kid's a millionaire. So I'm like, all right, like I'm figuring maybe he's like 23, he's out of college, like 24, somewhere in that range. But also it's like the disposition of just being mature. So I asked him like, how old are you? He's like, well, how old do you think I was? I was like, 23, 24. It's like, nope, I'm 18. I'm like, well, wait a minute. We got to go all the way back because you just told me like 10 years worth of stories of all the things that you've been doing. He's like, yeah, I started young. I started when I was 14. It's been the last 4 years. So very impressed. I'm like, I got to get you on the video. We got to share this story with the people, man. So if you don't mind, really just kind of, how in the world at 14, what gave you the gumption and the guts to get into this stuff? Right. And what did it start off as?
Yeah.
What did you start doing with it?
Oh, I appreciate the introduction. What's up, guys? So what kind of got me started then was just seeing my parents, really. I saw my parents, I saw how they lived their life, and they have a great life, don't get me wrong. They work a 9-to-5 job. Yeah. And a lot of my friends' parents do too. And when I kind of saw them and how they would go to work every day, they get up like, I don't want to go today. They go to work, they get their paycheck, come home, watch TV, hang out with us for a bit. It's like, I don't know if that's for me, Yeah. And I was 14 at the time, and I'm like, you know what? I love video games, dude. I'm addicted to it. I would play it for like hours on end. And I'm like, okay, what if there's a way to make money from this? So that's when I started a YouTube channel. I was like, screw it, you know what? Let's just do it. It's not gonna be the hardest thing to do. Yeah. So let's give it a try. Take those steps. So I started a YouTube channel. I was posting every single day. Every single day. My schedule was I would go to school, I would get home, I would work for 3 hours recording a video, editing it, and then I'd post it. I go to sleep, repeat. I did that for a whole year. The channel got to a little over 100,000 subscribers.
That's unreal. So even to stop right there, because a lot of people just, they get into these stories. It's like, and then I was at 100,000 followers. So you're obviously doing some deep research into what videos were in high demand, like doing tags, doing, the right things, like beyond just making the videos. What did the work on the back end look like to go from 0 to 100,000?
That's a good question, man. So the work was really figuring out the algorithm.
Yeah.
Same thing with Instagram. You have your own YouTube channel. You got to figure out the algorithm.
Yeah.
And what I would do was
And I will say right now, I have not figured out the algorithm. I am just throwing up videos. I'm doing it the wrong way.
Practice makes perfect.
Okay.
So it was really, man, it was researching. It was YouTube. I learned everything on YouTube: how to edit videos, how to record them, how to post them, how to figure out which videos would go viral. Yeah. And then I would make thumbnails on Photoshop. Yeah. And that was the attention grabber. I would do something that would appeal to the video game audience I was posting. Yeah. So I would learn through trial and error, see which videos worked, see which ones didn't work, and I would double down on the ones that did work. And I would just rinse and repeat, make them new, innovative, better editing, and then by the time I think I was like almost 15. Yeah, I just turned 15. That's when the channel was at 100K, and I wanted to sell it and just get out. The video
Really?
Game, yeah. The game I was playing was starting to die out, and I knew I could make a good amount of money just selling it right then and there.
Okay.
So after everything, I've made over 6 figures from that channel after selling it as well. I took that. I'm like, all right, what do I do now? You know, like I'm 15 years old. I got over 100K in the bank. What should I do?
And what did your parents think? Were your parents like, what in the world? This kid just got 100 grand from this YouTube thing.
Yeah, no, man. They were, they didn't even know what to think about it. Man. Like at first, my dad wanted me to save. So what he would do was, he said, for every $1 you put in the savings account, I'm going to match that.
That's cool.
At the start, I was only making like $200, a month.
Yeah.
But then it got to the point where I was making like $2, $3, $4 grand a month, and my dad's like, Matt,
I cannot match that.
I just can't match it. So
that's great.
Yeah, they really tried to instill the mindset of saving your money and using that money to make even more. And now my parents, they were 9-to-5 workers, so they invested a little bit in stocks, but not too much. So that's when I took that money, and I took a huge risk then. I started paying for mentorships. So I found some YouTubers, and I reached out, and the first guy, his name was Tanner, he taught me how to do e-commerce, how to build brands, how to build a brand from scratch. So I did that on the side, started making some income there, and then from there, I was like, all right, with all this new profit I'm making, I want to invest it. I want to start trading it. So that's when I paid
and in the e-commerce side of things, did you start multiple brands, or did you go deep into one business and one brand?
I did about 5, and 4 of them failed, dude.
Okay, yeah, that's because that's the thing that I think in each of these cases, and I think this is one of probably the best lessons, is like, you're trying a lot of things in YouTube, you figured out what worked, and then you went deep in it.
Exactly.
You try a lot of things in e-commerce, and then 4 are gonna fail, and like people will try one thing, maybe 2 things, and 3, and they all fail, and like, okay, I'm out.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's tough, dude, and that's what differentiates an entrepreneur from just the average person. The entrepreneur has that resilience. They continue going. They work through it, and they learn from their failures. That's the biggest thing. Right?
Yeah.
And you've probably seen that too.
Oh,
in your
yeah.
business,
100%.
Yeah.
And the really interesting thing, because we get people that want to sell us their business. Yeah. So, I see some people who have a business and they're trying to sell it, and it's like, you have not built a business that anybody would ever buy.
Yeah.
But then I see the other folks, and I can see what they did to end up growing their business, and that it's a lot of that trial and error that they had to go through to make that work.
Exactly.
So the next step, you get this e-commerce, now you got this making income, and I love the story, because what I'm always telling people is, you want to go from employee to self-employed, and people get to business ownership and business income, and they never make that final step that Rich Dad talks about in Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you've ever read that. They never make that final step to investor. And so one of my favorite things about your story is that before freaking 18 years old, you made that final step to trying to figure out, realizing, hey, I need to go from this, where I'm in this e-commerce hustle, and start to build some investor income. So tell me about moving to the I quadrant.
Right. So the first thing I did was learn about it. I wanted to learn technical analysis, so I can just look at a chart and be like, okay, I understand what's going on here. And from there, after I learned, I actually flew out to California, and there was this guy named Nick Legend. Have you heard of him before?
I've heard that name before, yeah.
Yeah, he's big on Instagram, and he's a technical analysis Forex trader. So he taught me everything. And then after investing myself, I started applying that to investing. So I did a little bit of stocks under my dad's name, because I wasn't 18 yet. Dabbled around, did some Forex trading, and it was really good. And I was to a point where I flipped the 100K I had, and I was at around 350K, and I was hyped. I was 16 at the time. And this is the kicker of the story. I started trading with emotion, man. Investing with emotion. And my thought process was, the more I put in, the more I make. And then I got to a point where I messed up, and that 350K turned into less than $5 grand.
Wow. And that's a tough lesson. I mean, that's something that 40-year-olds struggle with. After 10 years of trading, is the management of emotions. So like to even be dealing with that, I mean, I was not emotionally stable for just hanging out at 16, you know what I mean? Like it could go left just because there was an argument about something. So that's really, that's a tough thing to try to figure out. But I'm sure that was even more emotional to just see your stack going down 350, 300, 200.
Yeah, it was brutal, man. It was brutal. And the thing is, it all happened in the course of a week, too.
Oh my God.
It was at a point where I started selling my jewelry, my shoes, and I'm like, I sold my channel. I have no income now except my e-commerce store.
Yeah.
So that's when I remember things were tough, and I had car payments coming up because I just bought a Tesla for my 16th birthday. And I remember that it was like $800 a month, and I'm like, crap, man, I got these payments. I need to make money. So that's when I started getting into, I doubled down on my e-commerce store.
Mm-hmm.
I grew the store a bit, I made back almost 6 figures.
Okay.
And then I invested, I started investing like 5-10 grand at a time in different types of cryptocurrencies. So I used the technical analysis I'd learned. I would do research on the crypto, and I'd find things that were innovative, things that had utility, that actually had like a real world purpose. And I started investing, and some of them went to zero. Some of them made me a few grand, and then one of them, I remember I put 10 grand in, and that cryptocurrency went crazy, man, crazy. It made me over a 200x return on that, and I remember I cashed out. I become a millionaire a month before my birthday, and I'm like, I made it. That was my goal. I always wanted to be a millionaire before 18. And I was scared, man, because like 3 months earlier, I had less than 100K. And it's crazy.
And just in case y'all didn't catch that, he said, I've always, like, it's so much time. It's like, I always wanted to be a millionaire before I was 18. Yeah, you just got to pause at some of these things to make sure y'all are catching it.
I appreciate you, bro.
So you made that goal, which is just huge. And so, I appreciate you. I'm sure we're going to get a bunch of questions on this video. It's like, okay, we got to go deeper into this story, but I pulled him away just to get a really quick video and give his story. It's very inspirational, and I think there are some important lessons that everybody can get out of it. It's some of the things that I always talk about. Number one, you can't expect success right from the beginning. Number two, just taking action. One of the things the homie Derek Harper always talks about is getting, just, it doesn't have to be perfect. You know what I mean? So, done is better than perfect, because perfect never gets done. So I love that in his story. He didn't really know what needed to happen, but he was going to figure it out along the way. And then, the most important thing is moving from that B quadrant to the investor quadrant. So hope y'all enjoyed the video. Thanks for checking it out. And thank you so much, Matt, for, Millionaire's time is valuable. When I can pull him away like this, he basically just gave y'all, about $3,000-$4,000 worth of his time. So say thanks in the comment. Thanks for checking out
Thanks
the
for
video.
having me on, man.